Hello, and welcome to my thoughts while standing in the queue. Today I was standing in the queue at the library trying to get something decent to read, and I was thinking about virtual cheating. Not real cheating, virtual cheating. AshleyMadison.com has over 50 million subscribers, men and women, mostly men, of course, who have signed up to see whether they can find some hot brunette or some sizzling blonde, 1/4 their age, that they can boff when their wives or their husbands don't know about it. I know that there's a certain kind of flutter that they get when they look online and they look at all the potential people they could shag, and they're very excited about it. However, I would guess that of those 50 million subscribers, less than 1/10 actually go out and get it on with anyone. And this is why. It's very easy to cheat or think you're cheating and being the Romeo or the hot Greta Garbo behind a keyboard looking at a screen. But the truth is that when you actually get out there and actually greet a stranger,
It's the nicest soda machine anyone's ever taken me to.
there's a lot of self-consciousness, there's a lot of embarrassment, because we're all human beings, and we all have warts and sags and blemishes that we don't like to show to other people. And it's a lot easier to sleep with a guy that knows about the muscle you pulled or your aversion to cold feet than it is to start all over with a stranger. I believe that this kind of cheating is virtual cheating, and if you do it and it doesn't really happen, it actually strengthens a relationship, because it isn't what actually happens in a relationship that makes it strong. It's what you think the other person is doing. For example, my father would come home every night late for dinner, and my mother thought it was because he was working so hard to earn a lot of money so that she could have her mink coats and her fancy designer dresses and go to the beauty shop once a week. She just adored him because of the effort he was making and the long hours he was working just to keep her happy and give her the luxuries that she felt were the necessities of life. And we always thought so too. When I worked for my father, I realized that my father was not doing a thing to earn money during those hours when he was late for dinner. He was sitting and reading the Wall Street Journal. My father never told my mother, and I never told, and their relationship continued for 50 years. Now, the big trick is not to spoil the illusion. For example, my friend Alice was convinced that her husband was out doing something disgusting every Thursday night. He would get himself all groomed and all tarted up, and then off he would go, and he didn't come back until after midnight. Finally, she confronted him. She was sure that he was out with some floozy instead of watching television with her and holding her hand and comforting her because she'd had a lousy day. And she said to him, "Okay, who is it?" He said, "Who is what?" And she said, "Who is it? I know. Every Thursday night you go out, you're doing something with someone." He said, "No, I'm not. On Thursday, I go to the Methodist Knitting Club for men only, and we do knitting for the needy. Just this week," he said, "I've knitted 17 caps and 14 scarves for the hungry and the homeless, and I won an award. See?" And he showed her the certificate that he had won for knitting faster and more efficiently than anybody else in the Methodist men's group. And the spell was broken. No longer did she try to dress up for him and entice him with candlelight dinners, because she knew it wasn't another woman that was taking up his time. It was a pair of knitting needles. And that's why I think that virtual cheating is the way to go. Because the truth is that my parents' relationship lasted for 50 years, where my mother actually thought that my father was killing himself for her, and in reality, he was simply catching up on the news. And that's my observation of how to keep a marriage alive and be a relationship alive and keep both parties interested and on their toes. And thank you very much for joining me for Thoughts While Standing in the Queue.